Pretty rally on Wall Street. Investors encouraged by renewed conviction of German and French governments to fix the debt crisis in Europe.
BlackBerry services collapse across Europe, Middle East, Africa and India. Millions of users cut off by major fault at the smartphone maker RIM.
Good evening. On this Monday evening, Business Tonight promises to be a cracker of a show. I'm Shelly Chopra. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there, I'm Sandeep Gurmurthy. Also on the show tonight, we kick off a new series, India Inc.'s Got Talent. And today on the episode, we've got noted investment banker and cement deal maker Anil Singhvi, who plays the tabla. That's up ahead on India Inc.'s Got Talent.
First up, it's always a market check. State of Wall Street, good news out there as there's a bit of a green cover spreading across US stocks, which have surged on the news that there's been a pledge by the French and German leaders to come up with a plan by early November to support the European economy by supporting its banks. The Dow currently trading up by about 3%, and as is Nasdaq and S&P. And meanwhile, Indian markets also were helped today by most of these gains across the world, helping Sensex come up by 300 points.
Okay, but straight to our big story tonight. Nothing works in India without a bribe, and always at the receiving end, corporates are now saying enough is enough. Top industry leaders, including Deepak Parekh, Keshav Mahendra, Azim Premji, among others, have written to the government asking for a clean-up.
That's right. They also warn that no corporate is going to be investing or committing fresh investments in India as long as the government fails them on reforms. Another major complaint is against environmental activism, holding up several projects. India Inc.'s latest letter is our big story tonight. Highlights from the letter. They say high level of corruption at every level in the government department. Complaints about how corporate service providers face harassment by government officials. Talking of a strong nexus between corporates, politicians, power brokers and even bureaucrats. And then the big issue of environment clearances for industrial projects and the delay in clearing several projects that are stuck with the Forest Ministry.
Contentious issue of allocation of natural resources. They want that to be made more transparent. They want an online auction process for sale of natural resources. They've admitted that investments have been stalled due to discretionary and irregular practices of the government. Policy delays, the CEOs admit, is forcing corporates to look abroad for expansion. Several old laws require an immediate overhaul, point these industry leaders. They want reforms in land, judicial, electoral, police reforms, admitting these are the areas that require urgent attention of the government.
In an exclusive chat with ETNOW, an exasperated Deepak Parekh says even though government announces several policies, they barely manage to reach the right chord, and they've actually put some amount of reform on a complete standstill.
The decision making has come to a standstill in the last 8 months, 6-8 months. We've talked about a national manufacturing policy. How many times it has come to cabinet and deferred and deferred. The power sector is in a mess. How many times it has come to the cabinet, what we read in the press, and either the meeting is postponed or decisions have been inconclusive. Yeah. And the power sector is reeling. We have lent huge sums of money to the power sector, but every power company has certain issues, whether it's the linkages or whether it's land or whether it is supply, water supply or whatever. And if we don't have power, where will we get our manufacturing right? Unless we come up with some laws in place where corruption, bribing is a crime, you get immediate imprisonment, you get a fine as you have in other countries. Even the person who gives the bribe and the person who receives the bribe, both have to be put in the dock, and not just the receiver of the bribe. And many countries have adopted this, and I think if the industrialist or the entrepreneur is scared that he may have to go inside the jail, he would not like to bribe. But today, if he is caught, only the person who receives the bribe goes in. So I think if we come out with some legislation which is workable, efficient, I think we can get over this. We have a little bit of a issue in the last 6 months where the attention of the politicians and the bureaucrats have gone towards past cases of telecom and Commonwealth Games and all. I'm sure we'll get over it in a few weeks or so and we'll move on. Life will move on. And we want life to move on, and that is what India Inc. is hoping.
Okay, even as the CEOs bat for better governance, corporate India's image itself has taken a beating thanks to an outbreak of scams tainting the way the world looks at Indian business, harming investments considerably.
That's right. We caught up with Salman Khurshid, the former corporate affairs minister and the current law minister, who tells us that while everyone needs to respect the law of the land, not everyone can be painted with the same brush. Is he indeed batting for CEOs who are stuck in jail in the 2G scam?
I think we should see it in the right perspective. It can't be a free-for-all. So whether it's the government or the judiciary or any other arm, investigative arm, if the law of the land is violated, then obviously people have to be made accountable. So I think we should get that very, very clear. Absolutely. There's no, whether it's corporate or non-corporate, political sector people, you can't have individuals think that the law of the land can be violated with complete immunity. Nobody will ask any questions. Having said that, there are procedures and there are systems that you have to put in place. And if those procedures and systems are found wanting because one arm of government, whichever arm it be, is not adequately addressing the manner in which those procedures and systems should be implemented, then you can run into a problem.
Well, that's indeed a big story, the coverage on governance deficit in the country. We'll be joined by Rahul Bajaj, live from Pune, senior advocate Hari Salve, to talk about the growing governance deficit that's coming up in a few minutes from now. Up first, of course, the Marans who were raided today. That's right, Shelly. The Central Bureau of Investigation today raided the homes and offices of Dayanidhi and Kalanidhi Maran in Delhi and Chennai. Dayanidhi Maran has been charged with criminal conspiracy for misusing his office to help Malaysian telecom giant Maxis buy Aircel. The CBI also searched the residence of Apollo Hospital's joint MD Sunitha Reddy. ETNOW's Nithya Balakrishnan has been tracking those developments all day in New Delhi and joins us with more details. Nithya, this didn't come as a surprise once the CBI zeroed in on the Marans. Help us understand what happens from here on. They've now filed a case. What happens from now?
Well, Sandeep, clearly not good news for the Marans today. In fact, I'm standing outside Dayanidhi Maran's residence in New Delhi, one of the venues where Team CBI raided, apart from this, of course, offices and residences of Dayanidhi Maran and Kalanidhi Maran across Delhi and Chennai were raided by CBI teams earlier this morning on allegations that Dayanidhi Maran, during his tenure as telecom minister, received kickbacks from the Aircel Maxis deal and also favored Aircel post Siva Sankaran's exit. So clearly, both the Maran brothers are named in the FIR. Apart from them, we're talking about CEO and owner of Maxis. There is Mr. William and there is also Anantha Krishnan, who has been named in this FIR. Clearly going ahead, does this mean arrest? That is the big question. If you look at the 2G scam, earlier FIRs have ended up in arrest of Kanimuri and A. Raja. But whether this holds good for Dayanidhi Maran is something that we'll have to wait and watch out for. It's a little too premature to determine that right now. But what sources in the CBI are telling us is that in the next couple of weeks, both Dayanidhi Maran and Kalanidhi Maran will have to come before the CBI for further interrogation. Now, another important thing is, apart from the Maran brothers, it was also offices and residences of Miss Sunitha Reddy of the Apollo Group, which was also looked into by CBI teams. What they were saying is that 27% stake of Aircel, which has gone to Apollo Group, has gone at very undervalued rates during Dayanidhi Maran's tenure. So definitely a lot of heat on the Maran brothers at the moment. And if you look at the political stand, DMK is not clearly supporting Maran. Earlier, when it was Kanimuri and Raja who were facing the heat from the CBI teams, they had come out in complete support of both these people. But when it comes to Dayanidhi Maran, looks like he's isolated at the moment. In fact, T.R. Balu, we caught up with him a little while earlier, and this is what he had to say about the political party stand on Dayanidhi Maran, of course.
No, there is no necessity. Why should I go and meet Congress leaders? What purpose I have to do? There is no necessity.
What is the party stand on this?
No, it is what I already said. It is only a business transaction. Business transaction for them. It is for them to react. I do so. Politically, there is nothing.
So is the party distancing itself from the Maran brothers?
No, it is. They are the sons of great leaders. Where is the chance of distancing?
From all the news and the former telecom minister to what's happening in the telecom sector today, Telecom Minister Kapil Sibal today unveiled the much anticipated draft National Telecom Policy 2011. He's proposed doing away with the roaming charges, which is indeed good news for consumers, and plans to introduce one license for the entire country. Spectrum pricing, however, will remain a market force-led story. Here's what he said today.
The license will be pan-India, but you will still be operating in certain geographical areas. So whatever services are offered in those geographical areas, whatever you want to offer, you will still have to be limited to that. The license will be pan-India. It can be for anything.
No, but
it can be for radio. It can be for anything you want. The fact of the matter is that the market opportunities are endless in India, and despite whatever we are saying within. There is no entrepreneur who's come to me and said he doesn't want to invest in India.
Okay, the big headline though is the fact that the policy is silent on key aspects of spectrum allocation, spectrum pricing. Let's find out more about that from our correspondent Gauri Divedi, who tracks the telecom space very closely. Gauri, India, telecom industry must be disappointed because very little detail on spectrum sale, on M&A guidelines, on exit policy, all the industry was looking for.
Absolutely, Sandeep. In fact, the policy, the entire effort today was really to touch upon a whole host of issues, but no roadmap, no clear direction as to what would be the strategies as to even achieve these kind of objectives that the government has set itself for. Specifically, as you did point out, yes, a lot of 2G related issues that the industry wanted some clarity on could not be given by the policy, the draft policy. One, of course, is the fact that Telecom Commission and TRAI are looking at these issues, but beyond that, even issues like exit policy, there's just one line which says that an exit policy is being examined. In what route, in what context, what could be the manner in which the exit policy could actually be offered to telcos? Absolutely no clarity on it. And beyond that, even whether or not it will impact the consolidation, how could the consolidation really get impacted as far as exit policy is concerned? Again, the entire draft was absolutely silent on it. Even on issues like spectrum pooling, trading, sharing, these are very important issues which will impact the sector simply because it's spectrum starved. But again, absolutely no roadmap as to by when can we see any sort of sharing or pooling can happen. The policy just mentioned these whole host of issues and will probably come out with details when it seeks public comments. But nevertheless, here are the DOT Secretary R. Chandrasekhar speaking to ETNOW on this.
The policy is a statement of intent and direction, and details will have to be worked out after the policy is approved. This is a statement of intent and the direction in the future. What happens to the existing people has to be seen with reference to existing license conditions, existing terms of auction, and how the migration to a future will happen.
So there is clearly a realization that there has to be an exit policy. There is a realization that there would be spectrum sharing which would happen. There is a realization that there would be let's say roaming across the country, or no roaming across the country, sorry, or there would be a universal tariff. There is a realization that the licenses will be separated from spectrum, and more importantly, the mission and vision has been very clearly given for the next decade, which is not very different from the industry. The first time that the government is coming out with a formal document clearly laying down that this is the vision and mission, and though this is draft, but they are coming out with a vision and mission. They are clearly saying there are issues which have to be resolved, and they would resolve those issues, and they are realizing those issues.
Shifting sectors onto auto. Plenty of bad news in there. The auto industry body SIAM has lowered its forecast drastically from double digits to lower single digits, saying growth of car sales and overall passenger vehicle sales are going to plummet this fiscal year. Sumit Chaturvedi says the festival season will also not do much to kickstart what is a very sluggish quarter for car makers.
From top speed to almost a screeching halt, car sales growth has hit a speed bump thanks to high fuel prices and rising interest rates. Sales are now expected to grow by just 2 to 4% this fiscal year, a steep fall from the earlier forecast of 10 to 12%. Even that's going to be a tough act, as the first half sales are down from last year's levels. Industry body SIAM says overall it's not a good scene.
It seems that September had shown some positive trends. We do hope that similar sentiment will continue to be in October in terms of festive impact. But overall, if you look at it, the growth is not going to be significantly higher even if there is a festive demand of 1 month impact.
And it seems like two-wheeler companies are gaining at the cost of car makers. The industry has revised its growth forecast upward to 13 to 15%. Even truck sales could be better.